Today's program is being brought to you by State Senator Ed Harbison, running for re-election for Senate District 15, Greg Countryman, candidate for Muskogee County Sheriff, and Kathy Williams for School Board District 7.
Inspirational, informative, empowering. Introducing CEL TV, the Courier Echo Latino newspaper's new network, offering exciting and relevant programming, featuring Politically Speaking in Black and Brown with Dominic Perkins, On the Scene with Nadine, Money and Business with Carl Brown, Extraordinary Intentions with Jonathan Rivers, Ask a Lawyer with Katanga Wright, Legislative Updates with State Representative Carolyn Hughley, K-Pasa with Tanya Batchelor, and of course, A View from a Pew with Wayne A. Hales, and so much more. And now, your host, President and Publisher of the Courier Echo Latino newspaper, Wayne A. Hales.
Welcome to another edition of CEL TV. Joining us this week, State Representative Carolyn Hughley stopped by to discuss Fair Count, an effort spearheaded by Stacey Abrams to achieve a fair and accurate account of all people in Georgia in the 2020 census. Local attorney Mark Jones has decided to throw his hat into the political arena. He joins us to share his platform as a candidate for district attorney. And Donovan Granville provides this week's Did You Know? A Moment in Black History. First up, however, when we return, I'll talk with City Manager Isaiah Hughley about the recent controversy surrounding the Liberty Theater. Do me a favor, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
COVID-19, coronavirus. ¿Tiene síntomas? Hazte la prueba ahora. Nuestra única preocupación es su salud. Hacemos pruebas independientemente del estatus migratorio o si tiene o no seguro de salud. Las pruebas son fáciles y confidenciales. Contrata el departamento de salud más cerca de ti o llama al 706-321-6300. 706-321-6300. Nuestra única preocupación es su salud.
Welcome back. As promised, we're here with the city manager, Isaiah Hughley. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm fine. Well, we got a lot to get to, but before we do get to the important question that I want to ask, I understand there's a meeting going on that you're going to talk about later on this evening about opening up the government center. Can you give us a little heads up on that? I like to be, in the know early.
Yes, there's a town hall meeting this evening, 5:30. Hope the viewers here will tune in. The mayor, myself, and other key officials in the city government will talk about the May 18th reopening of the government center. As a result of the COVID-19, we've closed the building to public access for some time, and we are ready now to reopen in a modified, non-traditional kind of way, where we're going to have all of the social distancing protocol in place, and we're going to have some of our employees teleworking and a blend of those who are physically at work, but it should be seamless, and the citizens should not see any difference in when they come to the government center or other city facilities to do business.
Okay, well, great. Well, let's get right to it. The street committee is always talking, and I know back in March you brought to the council a proposal about the Liberty Theater. Since then, you've had a couple of city council meetings, and there's been basically a little controversy. But let's I want my viewers to get an understanding of actually what did you propose to the city council in regards to the Liberty Theater.
Well, first of all, let me thank you, Wayne Hales, and the Courier Echo Latino newspaper for what you do in making sure the community knows what's going on. In fact, not just Columbus, but the entire region. And we appreciate that, and I appreciate the opportunity that you would allow me to come on and share what I did propose to the mayor and the council regarding the Liberty Theater. Let me just first of all say that the Liberty Theater is a historic African-American facility with the mission of promoting African American heritage, culture, and intellectual activities for the benefit and enjoyment of all of us who live in Columbus and those who visit our city. The Liberty Theater is a community resource, just like the Springer Opera, the State Theater of Georgia, the River Center for the Performing Arts, and other amenities that we have here in Columbus. It's a community resource. The Liberty Theater acceptance request that I made to the City Council was at the request of District City Councilor Mimi Woodson and Councilors Pops Barnes and Valerie Thompson, after receiving a written request from the chairman of the Liberty Theater Board and board members of the Liberty Theater. The Liberty Theater is currently in a state of disrepair. And according to a recent assessment by Brasfield and Gorey Construction and our in-house professional staff at the city, it will cost an estimated $3 million to repair and revitalize the facility. Before Mayor Pro Tem Evelyn Turner Pugh retired, she requested an assessment of repairs needed at the Liberty Theater, and she wanted us to look at the feasibility of the city taking over the management and operation of the theater. The assessment that we did revealed that the roof had major issues: severe water damage, the fire alarm and fire protection systems were not working or in working condition. The HVAC units are at the end of their useful life. Electrical system repairs are needed. The theater lighting and AV systems require replacement. Kitchen renovation is needed. Interior and exterior improvements are needed. And many other things there at that facility are in desperate need. The assessment revealed that the Liberty Theater is simply in a state of disrepair. The assessment revealed that revitalization is necessary and necessary now to prepare this historic structure from further damage and deterioration. We learned that 2 small grant opportunities are available or were available to the Liberty Theater if the facility is owned by the city. So I recommended that the city accept the facility, but I wanted to be clear that total revitalization would not be immediate, but would come in phases. If we had accepted the facility, we would first secure the facility to protect it from further damage by dealing with the roof. Then we would focus on the interior and system replacements. In other words, the facility would not be usable immediately if we had accepted it. We would immediately and aggressively secure the 2 grants that were available, and we would look for other grant opportunities and outside funding support from stakeholders, private sector, and others. So I knew it would be challenging, but I believed we could be successful and save the facility if the facility was accepted by the city. I wanted to be clear, though, the facility did not get in its current condition overnight, and it would not be revitalized and made ready for use overnight. So once revitalized, I had projected and shared with the mayor and council an operating budget of $150,000 to $200,000 for direct expenditures, plus additional pass-through expenditures. I projected that programming would offset the expenditures once the facility became available for rental and programming. So the facility would be programmed and managed by the existing staff of the Civic Center to keep the expenses down. I explained that the priority of the Liberty Theater would be to maintain the historical and cultural significance. I know we're all interested in that. We would have the City Council to appoint a Liberty Theater Advisory Board, maintain the Liberty Theater brand, use Liberty Theater letterhead, provide the Liberty Theater its own telephone number, Liberty Theater social media site, Liberty Theater website. We would link the Liberty Theater and Civic Center websites for easy access to information, contract for use of the Liberty Theater, contracts for use of the Liberty Theater would be between the Liberty Theater and the client, and all ticketed events would be handled through Ticketmaster, no different than with the Civic Center. So to sum it up, funding opportunities presented to the mayor and council to stabilize and revitalize the effort would have been a $150,000 DCA grant secured by State Representative Calvin Smiley, a $50,000 Fox grant secured by State Representative Calvin Smyrie. And we did, in the 1999 Special Purpose Local Option Sales Tax, $5 million for the Liberty District for infrastructure, property acquisition, and demolition. And so we have a balance there of $740,000 in the Liberty District SPLOST funds. If we were to use those dollars, and they can only be used on city-owned property, but those dollars are available for us to immediately secure the roof so that we don't have the rain coming in and to do some other things. And so I was proposing that because $740,000 cannot be used for maintenance and operations of the city. It has nothing to do with the general fund budget. It's $740,000 that's out there for infrastructure, demolition, property acquisition. For example, we used $149,000 of that money when Congressman Sanford Bishop got $150,000 grant from the National Historic Society. And so we used $300,000 to stabilize, revitalize the Mulroney House. Okay. And so that's $740,000 that we now cannot use on the Liberty Theater because we don't own it. And my goal was to bring it into ownership, use that $740,000, use the $50,000 grant, use the $150,000 grant, and those grants, the $150,000, the $50,000 grant can only come to the city. They will not award that money to nonprofit organizations like the Liberty. It can only come through the city. So there's roughly $1 million that was sitting there that is no longer there because the city did not accept ownership because of the opposition that's out there. And so that is what I took to council. That was my position and my approach. And so that money is left sitting on the table.
So, okay, I heard you say a couple things. You, I guess you sort of answered. You said these monies were. So the monies are no longer available. The grant monies are no longer available, or is there still opportunity for the city to take over the Liberty Theater if things change, and then the money will be there?
My understanding from State Representative Calvin Smyrie about the $150,000 grant through DCA, he made a call that night to the DCA commissioner that I was on at council because there were some questions about whether that money would still be available because it's been out there now for a couple of years and we haven't gotten this done. And so that money was not going to be carried over, but State Representative Smyrie called and was able to get them to commit to carrying over the 150. Okay. But because the city was going to accept the building. Well, it didn't happen. And so I don't know if that 150 is still on the table. The Fox grant was going to go away for the same reason. And that money is likely no longer available. So that $200,000, you can say, is gone. The $740,000 is there because it was a part of the SPLOST and it's money that we could use if we owned the building. And I used the Mulroney House as an example of what we did to stabilize and save the Mulroney House. We had the opportunity, had we accepted the building, to use that $740,000 to immediately repair the roof and stop the rain from coming into that building. And so you have further damage, further deterioration, and I hope that the private investor that Councilor Huff is looking for or working with can do something to try and save the Liberty Theater. And then, of course, you got people who are out there doing a lot of talk about raising some money to save the Liberty Theater. But I submit to you, as I saw one organization asking on Facebook, asking 300 people to give $10 so they could raise $3,000, not for the Liberty, but for some other things. We cannot do a $10 fundraiser per person for $3 million. Right. We need 300,000 people. We don't have 300,000 people in Columbus, Georgia, men, women, boys, and girls. And so this is not a $10 a person fundraiser that you go in and save the Liberty. Right. It has to be something greater than that. Right. So, and I guess I wrote last week in my column
that the city does not necessarily want to take it over if a private investor is available. So you'd be more than happy to have that. I mean, that would be a great thing. But absent of that, it is a tourist attraction, or could be a tourist attraction again, if it were revitalized.
You're absolutely on point, and you were in your news story. If Councilor Bruce Huff has private investors, the city is not looking to acquire another piece of property to have to maintain. We are not looking to acquire another piece of property. So if he has a private investor, we step back and we say, we're on board with you. Let's get it done. Let's save the liberty. If there are African Americans in this community who think that we can come together and raise $3 million and save the liberty, the city is not interested in acquiring another piece of property that we have to maintain. We step aside and say to the African American community, let's go for it. Raise the $3 million and save the liberty. But my position was, in absence of that, we need a funding source, and my primary goal in taking it to council was to save the liberty. It's raining inside the liberty. And so if there's a private investor and if there's community support to raise the money, let's get that done. And so I took it to council in February. I took it back on April 28th at the request of Chairman Smyrie and the District Councilor Woodson, Pops Barnes, and Valerie Thompson. And I've taken the position, I've gone twice, in February and on April 28th. And of course, we were asked for a delay in February because Councilor Huff was working with private investors. And he again asked for it on the 28th because he's working with private investors. And I'm yielding to that. I will not be bringing it back to City Council unless a City Council member makes the request. Oh, wow.
So I guess for all those people who are crying the blues, talking about the city trying to take it over, I guess, and I always say this, we do a lot of crying and moaning when they figure the man is trying to take over their building, but they could Cash App and Venmo and write a check. And obviously, if they were that concerned, they would have written these checks and sent money far earlier than now. And again, it's going to take more than $10 a person, more than $200, $300 to get the Liberty back in shape.
Yes, and I'm here and I'm willing to help and work with whoever comes forward to save the Liberty. And I want to make that clear. My goal is to save the Liberty.
All right. Well, thank you, City Manager. We really appreciate you setting the record straight. Man, and I guess I want to say good luck, but I guess it's not up to you. It's up to one of the city council members to come back and bring it forth, and then we just need to hope that you all have set aside that $740,000. Let's hope that there's some other grants that State Representative Calvin Smyrie can obtain to keep this thing going. Because the bottom line, it is a very important historical facade in this community. Just recently I saw on our Black History website, people were talking about there was a time when they would just have to pay 6 bottle caps to go watch the movie theater back then.
I was one of those guys.
Okay.
When I grew up here, and I was sharing with my wife the 6 RC Cola bottle caps. I walked from Fred Douglass in Phoenix City to the Liberty Theater to use that to go to the movie as a child. And so I understand that. So, but let me just, if I could close with this.
Sure.
My goal was, when I drive past the Springer in the River Center and I see the electronic message board, what I had envisioned is that we would have an electronic message board just like that one at the Springer, and we would have it right there on 8th across from Hosley Chapel Church. And it would be graphic and it would be beautiful when you drive through there. My goal was, because separate and apart from the $740,000, we have a paving fund. My envision was the curb and gutter, the east side, the south side of the Liberty Theater with curb and gutter and put in paved asphalt parking space. My goal was the streetscape, the front of the Liberty, just like on Broad with the black decorative light poles, with the wrought iron black benches and all of that. If I had had an opportunity to move forward and get things done, but that right now is off the table, and so we'll see if others are able to deliver and do the kinds of things that at least I had envisioned.
All right, well, we can just hope and we can do some praying, and maybe that'll happen. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We've been talking with City Manager Isaiah Hughley, and you got it straight from the horse's mouth about the Liberty Theater. And for all of you all out there who want to contribute, I'm sure there's an opportunity to do so. Thank you, Isaiah.
Thank you, sir, for having me.
All right. Keep it right here. When we return, Mark Jones will be up. He's running for District Attorney of the Chattahoochee Judicial Circuit.
COVID-19, coronavirus. ¿Tiene síntomas? Hazte la prueba ahora. Nuestra única preocupación es su salud. Hacemos pruebas independientemente del estatus migratorio o si tiene o no seguro de salud. Las pruebas son fáciles y confidenciales. Encontrar el Departamento de Salud más cerca de ti o llama al 706-321-6300. 706-321-6300. Nuestra única preocupación es su salud.
Foxy 105, number one for hip-hop and R&B. The Breakfast Club with T. Muskogee, mornings from 6 to 10 a.m. Holding down the midday. The Shorty Mac Show from 10 a.m. till 3 p.m. The Van Gloria Show with DJ Double Okie, afternoons from 3 to 7 p.m. Riding with you from 7 till midnight. Nick DeKid, who plays the best hip-hop.
Foxy 105.
Who plays the best R&B.
Foxy 105.
Who's got the best personalities.
Foxy 105.
Who's in the community and about the community.
Foxy 105.
What's your number one station for hip-hop and R&B? Foxy 105.
COVID-19.
Coronavirus. Welcome back. As promised, we have a candidate for, Muskogee County District Attorney, but actually it's the Chattahoochee Judicial Circuit, and he's wishing to serve as the District Attorney, Mark Jones. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Wayne. How are you, sir?
I'm great. So you decided to throw your hand in the political arena. Tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been an attorney, and what type of law you practice.
Yes, sir. Been an attorney for 13 years. Not from Columbus, but got here as quick as I could and stayed in the community. Have 3 lovely children here, and just ended up staying. And so basically been practicing locally here for the last 13 years. I've got the headset on because I was watching City Manager Hughley, and I couldn't hear him that well. I could hear him, but I'm hoping you can hear me better with this, so that's why I'm wearing this. But
great, we got you.
Event, yes, sir. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we hear you fine.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so been in Columbus 13 years and practicing 13 years, and just love the city. And biggest thing for me is, I do criminal defense as well as the personal injury. I do a lot of injury work with the insurance claims for the car wrecks and whatnot, but also do some criminal defense, do a lot of that. I'm the only candidate who is undefeated before trial jurors in Muskogee County. DA Slater cannot say the same. Yeah, just been practicing in Columbus, so that's a little bit about my practice.
Okay, so what made you
sit by idly anymore? And it became clear to me that no one was going to challenge the incumbent. So, yeah.
So you couldn't sit by. So really, what was the straw that broke the camel's back that made you decide that, look, somebody needs to step up? It might as well be me.
To be honest, we tried a case in December about a bicycle, a pink bicycle. We wasted 3 days of the jurors' time talking about a pink bicycle, and come to find out the bicycle actually belonged to my client. The DA was saying that the client stole the bike from a bicycle shop in downtown Columbus. Come to find out it was his bike, and we wasted our jurors' time for 3 days on that when we've got 80 people, 80 plus, I think it's 87 people now charged with murder in the jail. So we're not trying the serious violent felonies. And we're wasting a lot of our jurors' time, trial jurors' time, on these frivolous cases that don't need to be prosecuted. So, yeah.
Okay, so how would you, I know we understand that everybody's sort of passing the buck in terms of why people are staying in jail so long. And I understand there's a ruling that that you with after I guess is it 90 days or 45 days you have 30 days and you should at least be indicted by a certain amount of time, and you have people in jail for like a year, 3 years now. And I talked with the sheriff. It wasn't her problem. So, and then I think Judge Gil McBride and Bobby Peters are trying to move things along. As a district attorney, how can you help move things along?
The district attorney is the chief legal officer, the chief, sort of like you have CEO or the city manager is sort of CEO along with the mayor. The district attorney is the chief legal officer for the city, and the current DA, is responsible, in my opinion, for the backlog. It doesn't take 3 to 5 years to draft a simple indictment and say you're saying you're saying basically what you think the person did, and you're putting it to writing, and you're filing it formally with the court. And we've got a gentleman in jail now who's been in there 980 days with no indictment. That's just unacceptable for a DA. We can't have that. And the reason it's important is, my understanding is, it could be more now, but it was costing $50 a day, last I heard, just to house an inmate. So if we've got 1,000 people in there consistently, that's what, 50,000. It comes out to about 50,000 per day for the county. So I believe my goal is going to be within 12 months. I'm going to, if elected, I will get that jail backlog down to 700 people. Right now, we're operating about 900 to 1,000 consistently, and we have over the last, at least as long as I've been around, last 13 years or so. I want to get that number down to 700. And by my math, that will save the county, Muskogee County alone, about $4 million. So I'm not just saying, just talking out loud here. I want to save this county some real money, and also save the jury's time. You know, we got jurors who are coming to court religiously, you know, every week to handle business, and our DAs, I know it is. It's a leadership issue. The DAs are not showing up ready to court, and I think part of that is because we need a more active DA who's going to show up to court. She's going to say, well, I show up to grand jury, but the problem is we're having a lot of problems with trial juries. We're seeing a lot of not guilty verdicts because we've got very skilled defense lawyers, no doubt about it, and we've got to have a DA. Look, it's okay to delegate to an assistant, but if your assistant isn't getting the job done, you as the DA need to step in and come to court, make sure that they're executing correctly, and that they're not making major legal errors. So stuff's getting reversed a lot. But you know, I don't want to ramble too much here. If you have any other specific questions, you know, let me know.
Now, Muskogee County is just one county in the circuit. So you've got there's 6. What you got? Chattahoochee, Harris, Marion, Talbot, Taylor, and Muskogee. Talbot, Taylor, and Muskogee. So have you been out to the other counties, and how do you think you're doing there? I'm hearing a lot of good things about you here in Muskogee County. So how are you doing out in the other counties?
The thing I would say to the counties is Muskogee County needs your help. We've got to get a new DA in there, and here's how the counties generally work. I mean, to be quite honest, Wayne, the DA doesn't have a whole lot of say out there. They are the chief prosecutor out there, but the sheriffs pretty much run the counties in terms of who's getting charged with what, and they work very closely with the DA in that regard. Muskogee is different because it is a big city. Of course, we have a sheriff, but you know, the DA's presence is bigger here. It's more known here, and I can do more for Muskogee. But if you're a voter in the counties, I have been out to Talbot County, I have been out to Chattahoochee County, I have been out to Taylor County. I still need to get out to Marion. I've got a contact there we're going to meet with. But my thing to the counties would be Muskogee needs your help. We are bleeding. Our jail is bleeding our budget out. We have got to get a winner DA in there who can win. I'm the only candidate who has consistently won before trial jurors. Current DA Slater hasn't tried a case in coming up on 6 years in September, which is unacceptable for a DA. You've got to get in that courtroom. And my pitch to the counties would be, look, let the sheriff's elections decide sort of who's going to be y'all's chief law enforcement officer. I'll work closely in conjunction with whoever you elect, but Muskogee needs your help. We have got to get our jail situation under control, and if you would be so kind as to vote June 9th for Mark Jones for DA, you would be doing the county a favor, because we're going to clean up that backlog in 12 months. I can promise you that, Wayne.
All right. Well, let me ask you one more question. I know that I'm sort of asking you to be a Monday morning quarterback, and you may not know everything about it, but just on the surface, how do you feel about the Johnny Lee Gates case? Judge John D. Allen, they went before Judge John D. Allen, and he asked for a retrial, and now I guess it's been granted. Um, Most of the black community are saying, look, this man's been incarcerated for 43 years. DNA has come out.
43 years.
Yeah, DNA has come out saying that it wasn't him, and so the DA has the opportunity to just drop the case, well, not retry him and say, okay, we're not sure how that's going to end up, but how would you? I know, and again, I apologize. It's hard to be to make a judgment, maybe not knowing everything, but just on the surface, how do you feel about that?
When I read what Judge John Allen did, I was amazed and enthralled. I appreciate what he did. It's obviously another example of systematic racism, and that's part of my point with her is that I'm sure she set out with good intentions, but I believe she came the person that she set out. She ran against Greg Conger and got him out of there, and I kind of believe she's sort of become him by enforcing a policy of systematic racism. I did protest the Ahmaud Arbery murder out in Brunswick recently. I am not one that's going to enforce those policies, and I will use every legal. Now, the DA does take an oath, and the DA does work in a sense for the state, who is, as we know, a Republican governor. We got Brian Kemp up there at the helm, so it's a weird position because at the same time that you're saying, well, I'm a Democrat, you're going to be working for a Republican. So it's a fine line, and you can only do so much as DA, but at the same time, I think her performance on that was obviously a huge disappointment for the community because, like you say, there was DNA evidence showing he did not do the crime. Any sort of confession appears to have been coerced. That happens all the time in our criminal justice system. And then finally, I think you have to make a moral choice as a prosecutor. You need to be a minister of justice, as I like to say. And I don't see how a minister of justice could have defended some of the systematic discrimination. What they were doing, Wayne, is they were basically calling jurors derogatory racial terms in the selection of the jurors, which is unconstitutional under Batson versus Kentucky. It's a big case. You cannot do that. And so what DA Slater did was, instead of disaffirming that and distancing her office from that illegal conduct, she defended it, and it took it all the way up to the Supreme Court. A unanimous Supreme Court of Georgia reversed her position. And so, yeah, I think that was a big failure, and you're not going to see stuff like that from me if I'm elected. I'll do everything I can to end systematic discrimination and roll back those punitive policies that have harmed predominantly minority communities and people of color.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mark. I really appreciate you stopping by today, and let me give you an opportunity to say whatever you'd like to say to the viewers on your behalf.
I would just say that you have nothing to lose by voting for me. If you don't like me as a person, or maybe something I said or something I posted or something you heard about me, then vote for the platform. It's a People's DA platform. It comes from the West Coast, and I know a lot of people out on the East Coast don't like, what are you talking about, West Coast stuff? It's like, think about it like football. There's a West Coast offense. There's different types of ways to do things. I believe I will be a more efficient DA for you, and I will also be a people's DA. I'm not going to get in there and forget who elected me, and I'm not going to get in there and betray you. I would never do that. The current DA just isn't getting it done and is not getting the convictions. I will get the convictions. There's no reason you shouldn't have the best district attorney's office in the entire state, the entire country even. So that's me, Mark Jones, running for DA. Please give me a vote June 9th, 2020 in the Democratic primary. Thank you so much, Wayne.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. We've been talking with Mark Jones. He's a candidate for
Did you know every 2 seconds someone in the U.S. needs blood? Thanks to Charles Drew, that blood is available. Drew is a physician, surgeon, and medical researcher who worked with the team at Red Cross on groundbreaking discoveries around blood transfusions. In World War II, he played a major role in developing the first large-scale blood banks and blood plasma programs. He also invented and get ready, because his name is pretty charming, bloodmobiles. These are the refrigerated trucks that, to this day, safely transport stored blood to the location where it's needed the most. Drew was one of the most prominent doctors working in his field, and one of the only African Americans during a time when blood donation was still separated along the lines of race. Drew eventually resigned from his position with the American Red Cross over their insistence of adhering to this policy. It was 1950 before the Red Cross finally recognized all blood as being equal. I'm David Granville, and this has been Did You Know? A Moment in Black History.
COVID-19, coronavirus. ¿Tiene síntomas? Hazte la prueba ahora. Nuestra única preocupación es su salud. Hacemos pruebas independientemente del estatus migratorio o si tiene o no seguro de salud. Las pruebas son fáciles y confidenciales. Contrata el departamento de salud más cerca de ti o llama al 706-321-6300. 706-321-6300. Nuestra única preocupación es su salud.
Welcome back. As promised again, we're here with State Representative Carolyn Hughley. Everyone knows her in the community. I'll give her an Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority young lady here, so I know she'll like that. How you doing, Carolyn?
I'm doing great.
Great. First of all, let's talk about what's going on up in the state. Is there anything new coming in from the governor that we need to know about?
Well, as you know, there has come down a memo from our budget writers telling us that we're going to have a 14% reduction in the state budget as we go back and try and work through the budget the last 10 days that we have remaining in the session. And we anticipate that we're going to go back around the 11th of June to try and work out the budget. So it's going to be a difficult budget. These are uncharted waters. Nobody's ever been in the middle of a pandemic before in our lifetime. So it's going to affect everyone and all of the services of the government.
Okay. Well, let's talk about fair count. I know you're working very closely with Leader Stacey Abrams, and as a matter of fact, you're the chairman of the Fair Count Board. Is that nationally or is that in the state of Georgia?
That is the Fair Count Board
Okay.
for all of the operations of Fair Count. And as you know, Stacey Abrams is the founder of Fair Count, and we are working all across the Southeast to make sure that we have a fair count in the census. The census is really a big deal because billions of federal dollars are determined based on the census count. The representation in the city council, the school board, the state house, the U.S. Congress is determined by the numbers of the census, as well as a lot of research that goes on in terms of where businesses want to locate and what you have in your particular area. So it is really a big deal. But Census Day was April 1st, and the census is going on in the middle of the pandemic, and some of the operations had to be curtailed, and they're just starting to get back up and running.
Well, I know I got mine I think I did mine online. It was a simple process. It took maybe, I don't even know if it took 10 minutes. So it's just a simple process of doing that. So
right, it is.
Go ahead.
It's a very easy process, and right now, as of yesterday, nationally, 59% of our citizens or our residents have responded. Here in Georgia, our response rate is 55.1%, and in Columbus, our response rate as of yesterday was 52.6%.
Okay.
So our area is doing pretty good, but we need to do better because we want to get as high a census count as possible, because that's going to determine how we are able to get federal dollars for our schools, for our fair housing, for health care, all of those things that we need. So everybody needs to take 10 minutes like you did and respond to the census. Because if we look to our neighbors below us, in Marion County, they're only at 30%. In Stewart County, they're only at 25%. And these are some of the poorest counties in the state of Georgia. So we need to encourage everyone to participate in the census. And I know outside in some of these smaller counties, they don't have access to internet. But Fair Count is working in those communities, and we have partners in those communities, and we have created Wi-Fi access all across Southwest Georgia, and those efforts are going strong. We're partnering with churches, and we're partnering with barbershops to bring Wi-Fi to the community where people are, so that African American men and children under 5 will not be undercounted in this year's census. So there's a lot of work to do. And we just encourage everyone to come on board and help us get the job done.
Let me ask this question. In terms of the census, and I understand it's the more people that you can show live in your county or your area, the more money you get from federal funding, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And then the other part is,
So,
go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
Okay, and then the other part is, it's also about how many representatives you have. So the more people that you show that live in a county, we could end up getting more state representatives, more senators, correct?
Well, on a statewide basis, we might be able to get another member of Congress, but based on the projections, that's not going to happen this time.
Okay.
That's how we got our last member of Congress, because in the last census, the population was such that we earned another member of Congress.
Okay.
What's going to happen with the representation is once we have a census number for the entire state, then that will be divided by 180, and then that will determine how much population is required per House of Representative district.
Okay. So,
and right now, Columbus is not growing as fast as some of the areas in metropolitan Atlanta. So we're going to be playing catch up. So that's why we need everybody in our area to make sure that they're counted, because an undercount for us may mean that we lose a member.
We could lose a delegate?
You can lose. You can gain or you can lose based on that number.
Oh, wow. And then there's also opportunity, there's a situation where they might combine some of the districts. Is that also part?
If the area has to lose a district, then the map will be redrawn, and it's a possibility that you could have 2 sitting members drawn into the same district. And that has happened before all across the map. And at the end of the day, this is what I expect to see. In the Atlanta metropolitan area, you're going to have more districts. They're going to be smaller land area wise, very compact. And then in second tier cities like Columbus and Macon and Augusta, those districts are going to have to increase land area wise, because we're going to have more population than we currently have. And then for your South Georgia districts, those districts are going to be huge when you look at them on the map, because they're going to have to encompass several counties in order to get to the number, because they're projecting the number at 55,000 is what we're going to need to make a House district. And so, that's going to be challenging.
Okay. Well, I do know, a couple of months ago, Stacey Abrams was here. I guess she was doing a Fair Count tour, and you sort of touched on it. So now, not only do you have you and your committee, but they are reaching out to the LGBT community. They're reaching out to black men. They're reaching out to women. So there is really a concerted effort to make sure everyone fills out the census. And I'm talking to people, and people are doing that. So I guess that's where that 52% is coming in, because people are paying attention and they are understanding the importance, and especially a lot of the millennials. They are realizing the importance of the census now.
Well, while everybody is kind of staying at home, if they'll just take 10 minutes to go ahead and fill out the census, that would be helpful to all of us. Because the thing to remember is, if the count is low, it not only affects you next year, but for the next 10 years. So you'll be stuck with that number for 10 years. So that's why you don't want to have an undercount. And I'm glad you mentioned black men, because black men have been undercounted in previous census. And so this year there is a concerted effort by Fair Count to address black men and to address children under 5 and those undercounted areas, and non-English speaking populations. All of those are very important that they are included and addressed in the census. Now, they're going to get ready to go to the next phase of the census, where they go out and knock on your doors, that kind of thing.
Right.
That has been pushed back.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, the census itself has been pushed back. And what they're telling us now is that the new timeline says that the census work in terms of knocking on doors and that kind of thing will not conclude until October 31st.
Okay.
And then the president will not get the number until April 30th of 2021. And then the state legislatures, the state government will not get the number until July of 2021. And so we'll have to try and redraw the districts and try and get ready for the election in the next year after that.
Okay. So let me ask you this question, and I've always been sort of proud to say this, but I'm not sure. Now, who is the second largest city in the state of Georgia? Some people say Savannah, some people say Columbus. As a state representative, can you give me an answer for that?
We're sticking with Columbus.
All right. Thank you. That's all I need is I can tell my people I live in the second largest city in Georgia. And they're like, really? Columbus? We want to thank you, State Representative Carolyn Hughley, for stopping by. And anytime you have information about Fair Count or anything that's going on up at the state, we'd appreciate you stopping by and keeping us informed.
Well, thank you so much. And we really appreciate Stacey Abrams and her vision to make sure that all of us are counted so that we can have the resources and the representation that we really need. Thank you so much for inviting me today.
No problem. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's our show for today. We want to thank State Representative State Representative Carolyn Hughley. Keep it right here. We'll be right back with my last few remarks.
COVID-19, coronavirus. ¿Tiene síntomas? Hazte la prueba ahora. Nuestra única preocupación es su salud. Hacemos pruebas independientemente del estatus migratorio o si tiene o no seguro de salud. Las pruebas son fáciles y confidenciales. Encontrar el departamento de salud más cerca de ti o llama al 706-321-6300. 706-321-6300. Nuestra única preocupación es su salud.
Trying to dial in the station? K92.7, the best R&B and throwbacks. Monday through Friday, The Rick and Sasha Show with George Wilborn, mornings from 6 a.m. till 10 a.m. The Michael Soul Show from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. The D.L. Hughley Show, afternoons from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. The G Smooth Experience, nights from 7 p.m. until midnight. Take a stroll down memory lane with Wayne, Saturday mornings, 8 a.m. until 11 a.m. Big Legs. Sundays from 12 noon until 3 p.m. The best R&B music, entertainment news, news updates. K92.7.
I'm going to come to you today with a topic. If it's easy to purchase, it's easy to replace. Recently, I had a conversation with a friend who has been divorced for years. When I asked her why she has never remarried, she said she was waiting on the Lord to send her next husband to her. That seems to be a sentiment shared by quite a few women today. In fact, I have another college friend who recently turned 60. She also has never married. Both ladies share that they date, but they just haven't found the right man that they feel is worthy of their commitment. I shared with each of them what comes to mind when I hear women say, "I'm waiting on the Lord." And that's the parable of the flood. A man was trapped in his house during the flood. He began praying to God to rescue him. He had a vision in his head of God's hand reaching down from heaven and lifting him to safety. The water started to rise in his house. His neighbor urged him to leave and offered him a ride to safety. The man yelled back, "I'm waiting for God to save me." The neighbor drove off in his pickup truck. The man continued to pray and hold on to his vision. As the water began rising in his house, he had to climb up to the roof. A boat came by with some people heading for safe ground. They yelled at the man to grab a rope. They were ready to throw it to him and take him to safety. Once again, he shouted out that he was waiting for God to save him. They shook their heads and moved on. The man continued to pray, believing with all his heart that God would save him. The floodwaters continued to rise, and a helicopter flew by. A voice came over a loudspeaker offering to lower a ladder and take him off the roof. The man waved the helicopter away, shouting back that he was waiting for God to save him. The helicopter left. The flooding waters came over the roof, caught him up, and swept him away. Ultimately, he drowned. When he reached heaven, he asked, God, why did you not save me? I believed in you with all my heart. Why, God, did you let me drown? God replied, I sent you a pickup truck, a boat, and a helicopter, and you refused all of it. What else could I possibly do for you? I believe far too many women are expecting God to send them an IBM, an ideal black man, that they tend to look over the BMW, the black man worker, that he sends their way every day. But I'm going to leave that for another call. As a man with daughters, a sister, and nieces, I remember the changes I've sent women through and how I have used some for my own selfish needs. Looking back, I can honestly say I've never been abusive, and I'm not worried about getting caught up in the Me Too movement. But still, there are some things I'm not proud of, according to some of my actions. Now, what I'm about to say is going to sound wrong to some of you ladies, but I ask, please, just hear me out. Some of you bring your problems with men on yourself. If you're not being treated with love and respect, why don't you check your price tag? Perhaps you have marked yourself down. It's you who tells people what you're worth by what you accept. Maybe it's time for you to get off the clearance rack and get behind the glass where they keep the valuables. Why don't you learn to value yourself more? If you don't, no one else will. Whenever you choose to engage in any kind of relationship with another human being, there is always some sort of a cost involved. It will cost you your heart, your spirit, your bodies, and your minds. It will cost your emotions, your time, your commitment, and your energy. In relationships, we all come with a price tag, and we will value ourselves with the price tag that we believe we deserve. But even more sobering, we will allow ourselves to be purchased at the price that we place on ourselves. If you believe you're worth a mere $50 or an extravagant meal and a night out on the town, or an ambiguous relationship that revolves only around sex, that is exactly what you will get. Don't be so desperate for love that you set your price tag too low. Remember, if you're easy to purchase, you'll also be easy to replace. I'm Wayne Hales, and this has been my view from the pew.
Let's go!
That nigga bad right there. Well, that's our show for this week. Today's edition was sponsored by Senator Ed Harbison, who is seeking re-election to Senate District 15, as well as Greg Countryman, candidate for Muskogee County Sheriff. I'd like to thank our guests, City Manager Isaiah Hughley, State Representative Carolyn Hughley, and Mark Jones, candidate for District Attorney. Please remember to like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel, CEL TV. We are proud to announce that during the week of May 25th through the 28th, we will serve as the host site as the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated uses our social media page to present live on Facebook, Meet the Candidates, a virtual forum. They're doing so in collaboration with Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, the Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance, the Links Incorporated, and the Urban League of Columbus Young Professionals. We hope that during your time with us, you've been inspired, informed, or empowered. Until next time, I'm Wayne Hales, and and we are CEL TV, the Courier Echo Latino, your source for truth. Today's program has been brought to you by State Senator Ed Harbison, running for re-election for Senate District 15, Greg Countryman, candidate for Muskogee County Sheriff, and Kathy Williams, School Board District 7.
Inspirational, informative, empowering. Introducing CEL TV, the Courier Echo Latino newspaper's new network, offering exciting and relevant programming, featuring Politically Speaking in Black and Brown with Dominic Perkins, On the Scene with Nadine, Money in Business with Carl Brown, Extraordinary Intentions with Jonathan Rivers, Ask a Lawyer with Katanga Wright, Legislative Updates with State Representative Carolyn Hughley, Que Pasa with Tanya Batchelor, and of course, A View from a Pew with Wayne A. Hales, and so much more. It's all available on demand exclusively, broadcasting live on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and our website, couriernews.org.